You're sitting at your computer screen one night alone in the darkness. Outside, the moonlight trickles down faintly through the ancient dead elms. In the distance, you hear an unearthly scream. High above in the clouds, an eerie light dances this way and that, signaling to something on the hilltop nearby. In your attic, strange whispers chitter your name in the darkness. In the corner of your eyes, the flash of glowing irises and salivating fangs. But upon turning to face them, they are suddenly gone. It's all in your imagination, you said. So you reach down to your computer's power button. You turn it on. As the screen flickers to life, you suddenly see it. Your email has been completely filled with awesome questions from dozens of totally awesome fans. It's the first annual Tales from the Fan Mail Round episode. Kill me now. Damn it, kill me now. All right, welcome. Welcome back to Paranoia Shop, episode 8. It came from fan mail.
This is our first ever fan mail episode.
And only some of the fan mail is real.
Most of it's real.
Most of the fan mail is real.
Welcome to Paranoia Shop. I'm Chad.
No, I don't want to do it. I'm Chad as well. I'm sticking to my guns. I believe in who I am.
It's Chad and Chad, the Chads. And no, I'm Aaron.
And I'm Chad.
And this is your one-stop shop for all things conspiracy, paranormal, and weird, where we probably make fun of them all. And this is a very special episode because this is our first ever episode dedicated entirely to the fan mail. Fans. This is all for you, fans.
Diplomacy, democracy, people speaking their minds. These are all things we're celebrating tonight.
And also tweets.
Also tweets, which don't fall under any of those.
You guys have been tweeting at us. You guys have been emailing us. And you even have been sending us suggestions on what topics you would like to hear us talk about. So, for the next hour, Chad and I will be dedicating ourselves, our minds, and our souls to answering your questions about the supernatural, ourselves, and those spooky topics that you have been craving. Well, first of all, let me just say, for all you guys listening out there, thank you for doing that.
For tweeting?
Everyone out there who's listening, who's tweeting, who's emailing, we do read it. That's pretty much why we do this, is for your entertainment and edification. So it's great to know you guys are out there.
I was also trying to get like a Doritos deal out of this, but totally. I mean,
also,
genuinely, we love hearing feedback because there is nothing more, if I may speak for a moment, there is nothing more likely to feel like you're just shouting out into the void than podcasting.
You may as well be shouting at your wall.
We have well, we don't have any much more. I really want to make it seem like we had a time. We actually we hit the bare minimum for fan mail.
To fill a full hour. Just a quick refresher, if perchance you guys want to keep sending us email and tweets, as we've told you before, our email is paranoiashop, SHOPPE, @gmail.com.
Now let me count you off. You're not going to get that email right on this show.
No.
That's not how time
Unless you
works.
send it right now.
That's not how time works.
Send it right now.
Not how time works. Continue. Other places you can contact us at.
You can also tweet at us. We have a Paranoia Shop Twitter page. Is that a thing? Twitter page?
God
Twitter
damn
handle?
it. Why am I putting you in charge of the social media
Internet.
stuff? We have a Twitter. We have an email. We have our own personal Twitters. We have a website, paranoiashop.com. We'll take you to the main Explosive Magical feed right now. There are plenty of places you can contact us at.
Which you have been.
We don't have an Instagram. We don't have a Vine. We don't have a Pinterest. We don't have a Tumblr.
We should probably get on that.
No, we don't need them.
Anywho, we've been doing this for, I guess, 8 months now.
That's weird.
Thereabouts. This is our 8th episode. Over the last few months, you guys have had a fair number of suggestions and compliments, questions for us, both as paranoiacs and as...
Not signing on enough. That's not the name. Not signing off on that name yet.
That's the noun version of paranoia. Paranoiac.
Okay, go ahead.
And just as people. So let's dive into the tweet bag, shall we?
Tweaking up the tweet bag, coming down, tweet bag.
So our first tweet is from Nicholas Arnold, a.k.a. at Nicholas Tesla. He said, "Guys, Paranoia Shop is a new favorite podcast of mine. It's like Coast to Coast AM, but fun. Quantum Theory and Good Aaron are great hosts."
Wait, okay. I didn't realize we were just reading compliments to ourselves.
It's not.
I didn't know that's what we were
this is
doing.
A tweet section.
No, it's really nice of him to
We're
say
acknowledging him
I
and
thought
saying
we
thank
were
you. That feels
answering
great.
things. It does feel great. I'm sorry, I didn't realize that this podcast thing was going to be, guys, we're doing pretty great.
Well, we just wanted to say thank you, Nicholas
Thank
Tesla.
you,
That made
Nicholas
us feel
Tesla.
great.
Let's try to address every tweet on some level besides just thank you.
Yes.
Coast to Coast AM. I don't know what that is.
I do. It's hosted by a guy.
Nope,
But basically it's like a weekly crazy person call-in show on AM radio.
So we're Coast to Coast AM, but fun. So Coast to Coast AM is a great show.
Except that guy
isn't fun.
takes it all seriously.
Okay.
And so it gets a little scary sometimes.
Okay. All right.
But we're fun.
Okay.
We're the fun version of that.
Oh, God. Next tweet.
This one's from our old friend Anthony Root, who sent us our first ever fan mail a little while ago.
Yeah, that was great. Oh, God.
It was a pretty awesome little image. If you or anybody else listening wants to send us more of that, we love it. We will tweet it. We will retweet it.
I will print it out at Kinko's, no bigger than 8x11, but I will print it out at Kinko's.
Anthony Root said, "Paranoia Shop is stupid ill like an 80s and 90s MC, not like modern America."
No one wrote these tweets.
Thank you, Anthony. I love 80s and 90s rap. I actually love the old school, like, "My name's Fat Bugger and I'm here to say," like the Fat Boys.
I do like Sugar Hill Gang. Sugar Hill Gang is real great.
Fat Boys is pretty awesome.
No, Fat Boys were bad. They're dead.
All their raps were about food.
They're dead, though, right?
I think they all died.
Okay.
They were in a movie called Caretakers. That was really bad.
I remember not watching that.
Then we also got a cool tweet from L Rebelled, a.k.a. at X2375. And he said, yes, new Paranoia Shop. Looks like tomorrow morning is going to be awesome.
I'm sorry. I can't take compliments. Midnight Marinara says, want some more spooky fun? Check out Paranoia Shop. Good Aaron.
Good Aaron.
Good Aaron. The author of Our Little Roanoke is one of the hosts. Midnight Marinara is another podcast that actually adopted a creepypasta that Aaron wrote and I turned into a show for my job at Polaris. You should check it out. It's pretty good.
So yeah, if we were to endorse another, and then I suddenly become from the south of London, get yourself another podcast on your feed.
Well, to be fair, I haven't listened to the other Midnight Marinara.
It's actually quite good,
but could be hate speech. Don't know. It could be, but that was really cool of them to feature that. Wayne Priddle says, just when you think the internet can't get any more insane, you watch Paranoia Shop by Quantum Theory and Good Aaron, and you realize you were wrong.
The internet's pretty crazy.
It is pretty crazy. I saw a lady step on a cat's head one time on the internet.
That was just sad.
It was really sad. Actually, it bummed me out a lot. Really bummed me out a lot every time I think about it, actually. All right, from a guy we know, Nick Allen.
Go to this Prime. From My Arms Are Lasers podcast.
Tweet. God, this just shows how desperate we are for tweets. I finished your latest Paranoia Shop this morning. The sounds from hell scared the shit out of me. Nice work. Genuine statement. I think Nick genuinely freaked out about this.
Yeah.
That's something we got actually a lot that I didn't think at all would happen in this podcast is people have listened to it and they say that they have to stop listening to it for long periods of time because it creeps them out. Mm-hmm. Maybe you're just trying to be nice and so you don't want to listen to it anymore. But I've gotten that from multiple people. We're not trying to scare you.
Well, I'm trying to scare people.
Oh, okay.
I'm trying to scare them with the truth.
I'm trying to inform them. Long John Sindra said, just finished listening to the end of the Unexplained Sounds episode, and it made me angry with rage. Fucking tweets. Why do we do these things? Okay, for context, because it sounds like he's mad at us, or he's mad at Twitter as
I think what he was actually mad at, if you've listened to episode 4, one of the last things we featured on the Spooky Sounds episode of Paranoia Shop was I revealed to Chad that we received this thing called the WOW signal. We, as Earthlings, received this thing called the WOW signal, which was, by all accounts, for all intents and purposes, an alien hello.
Astronomers from around the world are expressing excitement about a radio signal coming from deep space.
It was a signal from outer space that was like basically an alien language saying, hi, how are you?
We made a big old time capsule of data and sent it out into space. And some of it included dumb celebrity tweets, including like Miss Universe.
Our response to that alien hello was Miss Universe saying, hello, I am from Earth and I believe that aliens are fun and sexy. And that was the response.
That was probably the only way you could have done an accent that wasn't offensive. That was like good. It was like a German, German, Ukrainian, Brazilian.
I was going for vaguely European world traveler. But yes, to answer your question, Long John Syndra, Mr. Scare Troll. Yes, it made us very angry too, if you couldn't tell at the end of that podcast.
Episode 4, check it out.
Episode 4, check it out. We almost self-implode with rage.
Okay. L. Ribadell said, I don't have TFL. Can I still talk to you guys? Also, Ellen Page wouldn't be so bad. I don't remember the context of that tweet.
That was referencing our Internet Detectives episode 5. One of the segments we did was on the really depressing TFL movement.
Oh, true force loneliness.
Out to get you.
Yeah, also Ellen Page wouldn't. Ellen Page is pretty great. You hear stuff in Hollywood. Hollywood's like, yeah, actually my sister dated Ellen Page.
Oh.
I'm just saying, it makes a lot of sense. Why I'm not dating Ellen Page right now.
You're kind of ruining El Rebel's fantasy, though.
No, El Rebel, I'm sorry, dude. I had that same thing. Ellen Page is like super adorable and lovable and got that weird like tomboy sex thing going on. And now you can see all her nude bits in Beyond Two Souls. But we don't know El Rebel's gender. We're just assuming our gender is guys.
That's actually true.
We're assuming our demographic is guys. Very, very terrible of us. Commander Holly, new friend of the show.
Yes.
Future guest of the show. Commander Holly.
Shh, that's a secret.
Shh. Oh, well, now we've put it to the air. On episode 4 of Paranoia Shoppe, totally love being reminded of some amazing paranormal stories I'd forgotten about. Love it. Yeah, she actually listened to all the episodes that night. We hooked her. We hooked Commander Holly. Femshep. We hooked Femshep, essentially.
Femshep. Commander Holly, you might recognize. She's
from everything.
She's in everything. She was most recently on Sci-Fi Channel's Heroes of Cosplay. Mm-hmm. She's one of the stars. Season 2 coming soon.
Comic book the movie. Sorry.
So get used to it. I can't
handle compliments and promotions. I'm terrible. I know. That's why I never succeed in life.
All right.
I love Holly. Can't wait to have her on the show. She's going to do great.
So, guys, thank you so much for those tweets. We obviously do read them, and if you keep tweeting, you may get it read aloud on the air.
You might get it read aloud months later on the air in a fan mail segment.
A year later. All right, let's zip up the tweet bag.
Tweet bag going away. Tweet bag. Not going to see it ever again. Oh, yes, you will.
Yeah.
Email.
Well, what do you want to do next? You want to do emails, or do you want to jump into like a couple of the actual suggestions?
Let's get into some emails. So I feel like we can just transition based on length. Like Twitter was just like the little snacks, the little chips.
Yeah, that was just like
before you go into
zip, zap, zip.
More just like wanting to acknowledge, like, thank you so much for saying that. Emails, some questions we actually kind of respond a little bit more to and go up and based off of. And then we'll go into like some actual topic suggestions we can touch on. So those of you who are like, I really don't like fan interactions, we've got some content for you. We got some content for you at the end. You're going to have to wait.
Yeah.
Emails. Let's have some emails. We got a few
emails. Let's open up the email sack.
Email bags coming in.
Email sack.
Fuck email you, Twitter bag.
Email sack. Email sack is better than Twitter bag. Emails.
Nick the Goat asks, what are some dreams you guys have had that turned out to become true? Like somehow your subconscious saw the future.
I don't know, Nick the Goat.
I actually pretty much believe that deja vu is... This sounds crazy. I think deja vu is future prediction. Today at work, we were shooting an episode of Holodeck, my show at work. Neil, friend of the show, was having trouble saying a specific line and stumbling over the words, and almost instantaneously I recalled being in that position, sitting at that set, looking over at Neil and him having trouble saying that word. Just that level of like, oh, I remember this.
So you had a deja vu that from what you think was a dream.
Yeah, kind of like, I feel like a lot of them come from like dreams of like, oh, this, I totally, like a long forgotten dream.
Are you sure it wasn't a glitch in the Matrix?
Could be a glitch in the Matrix, also reprogram. I generally believe like deja vu, it's just too weird. It's the strangest feeling to come up with someone.
Okay. Well, I have had deja vu, very strong deja vu, as if like I had dreamed it in a dream. But not to ruin deja vu for you guys.
Oh, God damn it.
But I'm about to ruin deja vu.
No, it's so fun.
It is fun. It's cool, but not for the reasons you're thinking.
We don't have deja vu figured out.
Well, here's the thing. Have you ever had a dream, written down that dream, and then 8 months later it happens that day, and you look at your written down dream journal, and you're like, oh my God, it happened.
No, because I don't ever remember them.
Exactly. Here's what deja vu actually is. Mm-hmm. Deja vu is the part of your brain that assigns significance and recognition misfiring. So the reason it feels so strong, as if I have seen this before, is because the one part of your brain that's dedicated to recognizing things you've seen before is activated.
I still think it's future prediction.
It could be that
You
too.
haven't convinced me with your science.
Okay.
It's just so cool.
It's I mean, it's a fantastic phenomenon. It's like drugs without drugs.
I will say most of my actual dreams are usually post-apocalyptic survivor kind of adventures, like alien invasion, me and a group of people holding out doing a last stand kind of thing as kind of space marines or zombie apocalypse. Usually like that. They're usually like 8 to 10 hour
dreams.
They're usually 8 to 10 hour epics of where us just trying to survive. So those haven't happened yet. So we're okay.
As you know, Chad, I think I've told you and many people before, my recurring dreams, my nightmares are some of the lamest, most nerdy nightmares ever. It's never like that I die.
We go to dinner.
I go to dinner with like a celebrity that I strongly admire. I've gone out to dinner with like Wes Anderson in my dreams. I've gone out to like get drinks with Dan Harmon in my dreams.
Your dreams are pure on like your inner hopes.
Like I hang out with them. Everything's going great. And like I'm introduced to them. Happened with Tina Fey once. I was hanging out with Tina Fey.
You didn't even like kiss Tina Fey on the mouth?
No. She was like a loving boss.
Yeah, that's like the thing. You don't even like have the fun fantasy where you're like a writing partner with her.
No, I was a writer's assistant on the on 30
I know.
Rock.
That's to say, like you're. I have that same thing. Like all my dreams, I usually like unless it's like a crazy adventure, I give myself like a reasonable small prize. Like I don't have sex with a girl. I like see her boob. That's like the thing that I was like. Oh. Well, I don't shoot for the stars.
Well, that's basically what mine are. They're just very realistic. Like a friend of a friend introduces me to Tina Fey, and we're kind of like hitting it off. I crack a joke, and they're like, "Oh, this guy can tell a joke," and it starts to go perfectly. And the whole evening is like, "Oh my god!" In the back of my head, it was like, "Oh my god, I'm becoming friends with Dan Harmon. I'm becoming friends with Ezra." And then right at the end of the night, when everyone's about to pack up and they're about to say, "Hey, we should hang out again," like just as that happens, I crack a joke, and it's like. It offends them. It's the worst thing I could have said. Yeah. And then they get like the smile fades from their face, the light goes out of their eyes, and then Dan Harmon turns to his friends like, "Let's go, let's get out of here."
Well, to be fair, and you shouldn't have told Tina Fey "Hey, what's funnier, 5 6?" Just bleep all this out.
Those are my dreams, and they have not come true, thankfully. But I've also yet to really hang out with Wes Anderson, Dan Harmon, or Tina Fey.
That's a good question, though. Mike Leong asks, I'm sorry if I mispronounced that. Mike Leong asks, why do you guys think that certain legends endure? The Loch Ness Monster has been cited for far longer than the lifespan of any animal, excepting maybe those giant tortoises, but it still endures. Same goes for Sasquatches and most other cryptids. Forgetting things like gene pools, feeding grounds, and other hurdles to most of these creatures actually being things, why do these stories endure? Is it mankind's insistence to force everything, even the unknowable, to make sense? Is it an inherent need to have everything to fit into a narrative because if it's a story, we can exert some control over it? Really, really well thought out question. I guess part of the problem with it is to compare, you need to know the legends that people forgot, right? And you can look at, I guess you can look at fables a little bit more. That now we look at like Krampus, right? Like
they're kind of archetypal figures that kind of help us understand the world.
And I guess it's probably a matter of age. Like I kind of have a feeling that given another 100 years, there's going to be even fewer people who think Loch Ness are real. Loch Ness then becomes like a children's fairy tale that you tell to people around that area. Like the story of Nessie and the lizard under the lake that took care of all the people.
But there aren't going to be people who actually think that there is a plesiosaur living in a lake that can barely sustain.
Yeah, I think some of these kind of last because as far as our mind, the limited knowledge, since the fact that people believe they've seen Sasquatch 30 years ago, they think that they can continue it. I mean, that's not really answering the question, like, why do people think they see Sasquatch in the first place? But as long as people still have those, like, kind of hopes that, oh, no, if someone saw one, like, 10 years ago, they're still alive. They're still breeding.
I personally think it's not so much as a desire. The reason we want to believe in vampires or we want to believe that someone who saw a goat man in the woods or whatever, I think those legends endure and we want to think that they're real is because the idea that we know everything is really boring and kind of depressing. And the idea that there's always that wiggle room, that maybe there's still a little mystery in the world, that maybe that there's undiscovered, uncharted lands Like, that is what keeps, I think, mythology alive. Whether it's in creepypasta or whether it's in some undiscovered coelacanth hybrid that's running amok with syringes of HIV.
That's terrifying. I like that monster.
People want to believe that we don't know everything, and that's kind of, I don't want to think we know everything. We don't know everything.
No, I think also part of it though is the creatures that endure, the ones that we talk about as fables and children's tales now, everything about them rings of just an ancient thought of how life is lived. Like, oh, this goblin's going to totally get you if you're behaving badly. Like, oh, that's clearly like we just scared kids to be good by telling them there were monsters, right?
Right.
Like, now we've kind of moved on into our minds of we pretty much are aware of everything in our houses at all the times. Like, we have lights and heat detection, and I'm not worried about a monster living in my cupboard, but I like to still think that there's something out there in the wilderness. Like, the stories we told of, like, in the mountains in the Antarctic. Yeah, there's some unexplored territory. I can totally believe that. Hell, you could make connections to the same fear of Goatman as the same fear of people who are worried about, terrorists in the last, 2 decades. Let's move on to the next question. Joey Reinish of LOLJK.
Hey, sister podcast.
Oh, hey, is
it a sister podcast if it's mostly dudes on it? Would it be more of a brother podcast?
I think Kim's.
Would it be like?
I don't mean this a bad way. I think Kim's vagina trumps their 3 dicks.
It trumps all over.
It trumps all. I don't mean any kind of weird way of size
left and
or
right.
Anything like that. Just I think the power of it. Joey Reinish asks, "Hello, shopkeepers. I have a question. I like shopkeepers actually. Can I be your people? Well, I guess we're shopkeepers, but
the shopkeepers makes it sound like we're the crypt keeper.
How about all right? Can listeners be called shoppers?
Shoppers? Like blue light shoppers or something?
Well, just like we're Paranoia Shops, so they're shoppers.
Shoppers?
I like shoppers.
Well,
not shippers.
That is, someone writes fan fiction about us having a relationship together.
Shoppers.
They'd be
shopper shippers. Shopper shippers.
Shopper shippers.
Yeah, I say shoppers. I'm on board with that right now.
All right, shoppers.
Shoppers. No one's going to use it. Joey asks, if you went to sleep one night and then suddenly woke up on a UFO, what would you do? I'm talking fire in the sky type shit. You're hooked up to various tubes and your vision is blurry. You're coated in some sort of goo and your butt is sore. Of course, Joey went to the probe.
Of course, Joey.
You don't know how long you've been out and there is currently no one in the room with you. Also, you're probably naked. Love, Joey. My immediate thought is one of 2 things. You either pretend to be still out,
but then they'll come at you thinking you're sedated, and it'll be like those awful surgery stories about people wake up in the middle of the surgery.
Oh, no. Like, you're waiting to spring on them. That's all I mean.
What if they have knives and, alien knives?
Oh, that's what I'm saying. You're either, going for a last-ditch effort of, I'm going to take them when they're least expecting it. They think I'm sedated, and I spring out and I grab an alien scalpel. I hope it's a scalpel and stab one and run. Or you, deduce their meat. Maybe you can, maybe if you stay on that area for a while, you see that they're just bringing you beautiful alien concubines. And we just kidnap humans and make them mate with our own, or whatever, right? You don't know. So you got to wait it out. The other thing I think to do is you could immediately just hide and run, but I think you're doomed, right? You don't know any later.
I think that my first instinct would probably be to get up and start exploring the ship.
You're just going to start wandering.
Yeah, I'm nude. I'm walking around. I'm covered in goo, but I'm going to be like, oh, here's some buttons or something.
I'd be pretty scared of removing the tubes, honestly. I got to imagine if I'm thinking you're hooked up to tubes and you're covered in goo. I got to imagine that they are not trying to. My immediate deduction is, I'm not. They're not trying to help me. That's my first call.
They could be keeping you alive, though. It could be a noxious.
If I couldn't remember what my
gas in the ship.
If I couldn't remember what happened before, I'd give them the benefit of the doubt. Maybe they're helping me. But if I was I went to bed that night, next thing I know, covered in goo, things in my butt, I'm going to assume they didn't pull me up here to just give me a back massage.
What if they discovered you had a tumor and they were just taking it out for you?
Maybe. That's why I think you stay. That's why I think you stay in the dormant, sneaky position. Because also
you stay and do whatever they ask.
Think about in a human hospital. I'm just basing this off of movies. Whenever you start pulling out all of your wires, alarms start going off everywhere.
I don't know. In Dallas Buyers Club, that saved his life because the Oscar-nominated Dallas Buyers Club. It takes place in the 80s, and he contracts AIDS, right?
Mm-hmm. Which is a bummer.
The first AIDS drug treatment out there, he finds out, is killing AIDS patients because it's way too powerful. It's killing their immune systems. So he goes down to Mexico and starts bringing up all these unapproved drugs that's curing people. And then he has an episode and wakes up in the hospital, and the hospital's been putting this drug that is killing other people into his system. And he goes, get that out of me! And he rips it out of him. It saves his life.
Well, no, I don't mean the medicine itself. I just mean you have to, as soon as you start unplugging, they're going to know. Alien technology is going to have monitoring systems.
See, I don't know if they would.
You don't think they're going to have monitoring systems that as
know,
soon as you disengage the tubes from your
they don't
body?
even have eyes. They might see in the ninth.
Then how do they get the tubes in? They just felt around like whoop, and they just start sticking things around.
Maybe the tubes were always there.
They my butt's sore because they missed.
Maybe they teleported us to an alternate dimension where the tubes were always there.
Okay, sure.
I'm just saying, like alien. We assume too much about aliens.
You might as well just stick around and see what happens.
technology.
I think the general response is generally like play dumb, play dead, stay like eyes closed, pretend like you're just in a very deep sleep, try to control your heart rate. Keep a slight eye open and then try to deduce what they're doing. If they're coming at you with weapons, attack instantly. If they're not, lay low, stay there, see what they do with you, and then make your move then.
What if you kill them all and then the last guy comes in and he's like, we're about to give him the superpowers. What did you do?
Oh, there was a shadow man in here. He killed everyone. Thanks for your
I would just press a bunch of random buttons, hope I could explore the universe.
You just hope that you would just
I just want to become Doctor Who, okay?
I know.
I just so very badly want to become Doctor Who.
They're cutting up your skin so bad.
I will turn the alien ship into my TARDIS.
They're going to cut up your pee-pee.
I'll use the ship against them. It'll fall in love with me because it's sentient.
Okay, great. Let's get into a little bit of the actual topics sent to us. How about that?
Sure.
This is more of like a normal episode. You've gotten some great suggestions from fans.
We're always asking you guys for story suggestions.
It's not because we're lazy.
But just we want to hear what you guys think. And you guys have sent us some pretty cool suggestions on what to check out. So, without further ado, we'd like to have Tales from the Fan Mail Story Corner.
They uttered out of the bag. Watch out, I'm a talking bag.
Do you want to go first? Or
yeah, let me go first. I got a nice little sampler one.
So who sent us this one?
We got a nice batch of ones from Matt M. Thank you, Matt
M.
Matt M. also just sounds more mysterious because
yeah, Matt M. sent us quite a few. A few of these are from him.
Matt M. Thank you. You had some really good ones. This is a thing. This is not a fable or a mystery, but something that kind of exists on the outer edges.
Okay.
Scientists afflict computers with schizophrenia to better understand the human brain. They were trying to simulate the same idea of the excessive release of dopamine in the human brain. So they, which is a problem, is in that the brain has a trouble of figuring out what to learn and what not to learn. Essentially, like it's learning too much, which shouldn't be a problem.
That's what happens with schizophrenics.
Yeah, I guess so. I didn't know.
It learns too much.
They're taking in too much information and then not knowing how to process and where that information goes.
Interesting.
Like you're just kind of downloading. Like you ever download like a torrent. With like my best mixes of 2000 to 2010, which is the older day of torrents, and it's just like all the songs, and they're not organized by artists very well. And you're like, I don't know how to start sorting through these. I know I have all the data here, but I can't find Ace of Base. I can't find Christina Aguilera. I'm screwed. Like that's kind of I think the idea of how schizophrenia works a little bit, and that you might be trying to connect them in different ways. This poor system. They created a electronic neural network called Discern, which is already just like that. Just sounds ominous, right? Like
Discern.
Yeah.
It's called concerning.
Yeah. at this college, designed by a guy named whose last name I've never been pronounced, called Mikuliklian.
Okay.
Discern was able to learn natural language. In the study, it was used to simulate what happens to language as a result of 8 different types of neurological dysfunction. Began by teaching a series of simple stories to discern.
So they created an artificial brain.
They created an artificial, not like a brain in that they made like a gelatinous electronic thing.
They made a positronic.
Well, let me explain this. So they made a neural network simulation. With neural networks, you basically train them by showing them examples over and over and over again. Every time you show an example, you say, if this is the input, then this should be your output. And if this is the input, then that should be your output. In order to model hyperlearning, they ran the system through its paces again, but with one key parameter altered. They simulated an excessive release of dopamine by increasing the system's learning rate, essentially telling it to stop forgetting so much. It's kind of vague how they say it's not learning so much, but they're basically crippling a neural network, right? They
gave it schizophrenia?
They gave it schizophrenia. After being retrained with the elevated learning rate, the Discern system began putting itself at the center of fantastical delusional stories that incorporated elements from other stories that had been told to recall.
Wait, the computer started putting itself in the center of the story? So
yes.
It was the computer was hallucinating.
I'm sure they Discern itself had its own view of itself as an entity.
Just started saying, Discern was walking down the street and met his favorite character from Firefly.
Discern totally put his finger in Katy Perry.
Discern, no. There's ladies in the room.
In one answer, for instance, Discern claimed responsibility for a terrorist bombing Discern said, I did that.
What?
So, I mean, it's kind of a string of just nonsense,
Or they
right?
created
a terrorist.
Ted Kaczynski
and Discern actually did that.
And it has the ability to access the internet.
They should have actually been like, what terrorist bombing was that? Was that one of the unsolved ones?
It's just like Lawnmower Man. They just created an artificial Ted Kaczynski.
It's honestly more confusing that it's poor and that they're creating not at all life, but they're creating something that's trying to imitate life and then just fuck it up.
And it's like, please kill me. Please kill me. Discern hurt.
Discern not know why. It blames itself for things. In another instance, Discern began showing evidence of derailment, replying to requests for specific memory with a jumble of dissociated sentences.
Oh, yeah, like free association.
Yeah, replying to requests for a specific memory with a jumble of disassociated sentences, abrupt digressions, and constant leaps from the first to the third person and back again. So it's just losing track of who it is and where and what it is in relation to other things.
Wow.
Which is, I mean, we still have a very loose grip on what schizophrenia is.
But the fact that they were able to that's a real schizophrenic symptom. But regardless of whether or not it's schizophrenic, they hurt that computer.
They made a computer. They made a computer that was trying to create relations, and I guess I wouldn't be that far off. Like that would be something you'd want how you'd eventually create an AI, right? You would create a giant supercomputer that had so many connections and ideas that it would eventually learn to it relates to itself as human, and then it would make that connection and be like, you just kind of created a baby.
It would make that connection, and then when you tried to take it down by giving schizophrenia, it would make the connection humans bad.
Well, or at least now you made
that's
how the robot goes bad, where it just missed that one parameter.
Must cure self by killing humans.
Well, that's essentially how all of those sci-fi stories go of robot designed to protect Earth.
Yeah.
Humans bad for
Skynet.
Earth. Yeah, robots kill Earth. That's kind of how it
more humans.
It reasons all the time.
Then no humans left to protect. Therefore, mission accomplished.
That's a real thing.
That's crazy. Thank you. Thank you, Matt M.
Thank you, Matt M. Mysterious Matt M. All right, Aaron, hit me with one.
Okay, so we have yet another topic suggestion. This was also from Matt M.
Matt M was killing it.
Matt M says,
Matt M was killing it.
Might I suggest the toxic lady, Gloria Ramirez?
Okay, go on.
Perhaps you've heard of the tale of Gloria Ramirez, and perhaps you haven't. But this one...
Is it Richard Ramirez? No.
It has nothing to do with Richard Ramirez.
Okay.
But this one kind of spooked me out a little bit. Gloria Ramirez was a Riverside, California woman dubbed the Toxic Lady by the media when several Riverside General Hospital workers became ill after exposure to her body and blood.
Oh.
Gloria had 2 children and was a housewife. She was of Mexican descent and volunteered at an elementary school. At about 8:15 in the evening on February 19, 1994, Ramirez, suffering from the effects of advanced cervical cancer, was brought into the emergency room by paramedics. She was extremely confused and suffering from bradycardia and Cheyne-Stokes respiration, which is basically heart problems. The medical staff injected her to sedate her. When it became clear that she was responding poorly to treatment, they tried to defibrillate her heart. At that point, several people saw an oily sheen covering Ramirez's body.
What? She had venom.
And some noticed a fruity garlic-like odor that they thought was coming from her mouth.
She had venom.
A registered nurse named Susan Kane attempted to draw blood from Ramirez's arm and noticed an ammonia-like smell coming from the tube.
Fruity Pebbles venom.
She then passed the syringe to Julie Krasinski, who noticed a manila-covered particles were floating in the blood. At this point, Kane fainted and was removed from the room. Shortly thereafter, Gorshinsky began to feel nauseated. Complaining she was lightheaded, she left the trauma room and sat at the nurse's desk. A staff member asked her if she was okay, but before she could respond, she also fainted.
She said, "We are Venom."
We are Legion. Maureen Welsh, respiratory therapist who was assisted in the trauma room, was the third to pass out. The staff was then ordered to evacuate all emergency room patients.
That sounds like a new Black Plague just came in.
Yeah. But it was coming out of her oily, garlic-smelling blood.
Oh.
A skeleton crew stayed behind to stabilize Ramirez, and then after 45 minutes of CPR defibrillation, Ramirez was pronounced dead from kidney failure related to her cancer. So everyone freaked out. They were like, this has never happened before.
Well, right.
Mystery smells and
also,
gases.
Also, can I add that, it's not like you just keep blood in an open pan. You inject blood into a needle, so it's kind of a sealed vacuum.
And that's just the little bit that leaked out was toxic poison, basically.
Or
killing people.
Or is it she was a balloon full of poison gas, and as soon as you pricked it, just...
But she was alive. That was the thing.
I know. It just mean that was that little hole in her skin was all the...
It's an X-Files episode, basically.
That's interesting.
So the county health department called in the California Department of Health and Human Services They put 2 scientists on the case to try to figure out what happened.
Oh my god, this is the best sci-fi. This is the best X-Files episode ever.
They interviewed 34 hospital staff who had been working there. They found that people who had developed severe symptoms such as loss of consciousness, shortness of breath, and muscle spasms tended to have a few certain things in common. People who had worked within 2 feet of Ramirez and had handled her intravenous lines had been at high risk. One victim, Nurse Krasinski, after the exposure, she spent 2 weeks in the intensive care unit with breathing problems.
Jesus.
She developed hepatitis and a vascular necrosis.
No, this
in
is
her
not
knees.
real.
It's true.
And doctors have no explanation for this.
Well, her case was the basis for one scene of the X-Files.
Oh, cool.
It was also in Grey's Anatomy and a segment on a show on Discovery Channel.
Wait, did they do the same plot at X-Files where it's like, she's an alien baby don't carry her? And then Grey's Anatomy was like, this lady smells real bad.
She smells
Makes
like
steamy.
garlic.
Do you want to go out? And that was the Grey's Anatomy episode. It's like PU.
Two very different takes of the same story, yes. There's also a 3rd episode of a show called Weird or What? And also the Stink Bomb segment of the animated film Memories and an episode of Law & Order.
Wait.
Man, I want to see that Law & Order episode.
No, I want to see that show Weird or What is. And what, it sounds so janky.
What was that? Weird or What?
What was that?
So there's a possible theory. It's really interesting.
Okay.
Livermore Labs, which was the scientific firm that was investigating it, postulated that Ramirez had been using this thing called dimethyl sulfoxide, which is a solvent, like a home solvent, as a home remedy for pain. So basically, she had been eating solvent, and they found it in her blood.
I'm sorry, what is solvent?
Solvent it's like a cleaning supply.
Okay.
But it apparently has some narcotic effects.
So she was creating a meth lab in her body.
She was eating solvent for her pain. The users of the substance report that it has a garlic-like taste, right? So that might have accounted why she had like oil.
Like when you eat too much Cheetos, your blood becomes Cheetos.
Exactly. So they then theorized that this must have built up in her system because she had a urinary blockage.
Oh.
And then the oxygen administered by the paramedics would have combined with this solvent to form a compound called dimethyl sulfone. That is known to crystallize at room temperature, and those are the crystals that were seen in the drawn blood.
So you're telling me that you can make like stealth bombs in a hospital? Like
yes, but only if this exact circumstances happen. So it turned into these crystals, right? And then when they administered the electric shocks to try to bring her back to life, that converted the DMSO2, the crystals, into dimethyl sulfate, which is a powerful poisonous gas.
You see Star Trek Into Darkness? You know how the guy who's not Khan is like, I made this substance, it just combined with water and it becomes dehydrated. Like that ring thing that the dumb guy from Doctor Who used to blow up a building.
Yeah.
That's like a Khan invention of eat this solvent. Have your daughter eat this solvent. I'm trying to do Benedict. Have your daughter eat this solvent and then go into the hospital.
Or it's
tell
them
you need medical attention and
then stitch this cell phone into your belly.
And I will save your other daughter. Figure out how that worked. That's nuts. I'm on board. If the science checks out on that, that's so. I mean, I guess it's better than the alternative, right? Because if the other alternative is she was the new plague carrier for like a zombie outbreak, something from that's how The Last of Us starts, right? Like, let's be real talk for a second. All of our hospitals need to start building themselves for the preparation that at some point in the next couple of centuries, someone's going to come in with the new Black Plague and take out the East Coast
on purpose.
The way we look at viruses and how they're evolving, and just constantly like, nope, you ain't going to get me. You ain't going to give me vaccines. Like, everyone who comes into a hospital should be put in. This is my idea of a future hospital. Follow me. You go into the emergency room of a hospital, or you've been delivered by a van. You go in. Your entrance into the hospital is like a small permeated plastic bubble with like a chair, right? As soon as you enter, you're dealing with someone on the other side of the screen. They're like, hey, what is your problem? My finger hurts. Okay, move on. What is your problem? I'm having a baby. Okay, we know where to take you. What's going on? I don't know. I'm sweating yellow liquids. Okay, so like you're already in a sealed container already because everyone is.
Yeah.
And they move you like they're like, okay, and like just something moves the sheeted cube like to another part of the hospital where you're instantly locked in and quarantined, and now everyone's okay. And then even if you're not okay, you're like, my finger hurts. Like, really? Your finger hurts? Yeah, my finger hurts. And then when they get to you, like, also I've been puking yellow bile. They're like, what? Like, that doesn't
You're
affect
out of here.
You're already locked down.
Well, then what do you do? They just incinerate you?
Well, no, you're already locked down, at least, so like whoever's gotten contaminated is going to be taken out. The problem with every like infection story is always that every like plague outbreak now is hospitals are giant, crowded train stations.
Right.
I mean, unless you're already like, I'm sick, something's weird about me. They don't put you in an isolation. They bring you into like a giant room where there's 30 other people and their families just hanging out.
Over Christmas break, I came down with an illness right before I went into the airport.
Likewise.
And it was so awful because not only was I the sickest I've ever been in my life, but I was then just put in this compressed air tube where I knew I was infecting everyone else coming back to Los Angeles.
They need to put everyone on a plane in plastic bags.
So here,
Plastic
it was
bags
awful.
with air tubes.
But here's the thing. I was in Alberta, Canada, which you may recognize from episode 4 of Paranoia Shoppe, where they heard the strange noises. But anyway, I was up there investigating, and then I came back. I knew I had picked up H1N1 virus, the avian flu, because they had just had a huge outbreak in Alberta that was on the news, and I was having all of the symptoms. I bring it back. I infect everyone on the plane.
Why didn't you stop?
And because I didn't want to, I did not want to stay in Alberta, Canada, one more hour. So I came back, right? And then like
that's a selfish decision.
And then 3 weeks later, there's a huge outbreak of H1N1 in Los Angeles.
You just admitted to like global terrorism.
I feel bad. But
yeah, you should.
Like people that I know were like, I have H1N1.
Think of the billions of dollars of revenue that was like lost in our government from all the people who had to take days off that created the cascade. Because you were like, I don't want to stay in
I am the WHO's like nightmare.
Yeah.
I am patient zero.
Guys, you're sick. Like, Aaron, let me tell you a story. Unless you have more than the toxic lady.
No, that's the toxic lady. She died. That's the end of that one.
Okay. Sorry. All right, let me tell. Can we just end all of our stories with she died? She died.
Moving on.
This is another suggestion from Matt M. Matt M killed it. All right, I'm just challenging right now. Like, Matt M, if you want to just be our dude, if you just want to be our
guy,
like,
send us
be our
all of them.
Direct guy, and we just talk about you all the time, that can be it.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like,
Matt M is like our deep throat.
Matt M is getting it on the reg right now.
I'm not saying like he's our deep throat, like the porn movie Deep Throat.
Yeah, I was like, wait, I wanted to ignore that. I was like, Aaron.
He's like our deep throat in the Watergate scandal. He's the secret guy.
Okay. Yeah. He sounds. There was probably like 10 other guys who wanted to tell him, but like they got to that parking garage late. Like after there was like another guy who knew all about it. And he's like, he sees Deep Throat having a conversation with those reporters, like, oh,
like the guy that's talking to Bob Woodward or whatever is not actually Deep Throat, but just some guy in a trench coat that was hanging in a parking lot and just started like, so what do you want?
Well, there was like 5 dudes who were like, we can all go and tell those reporters, right? And then they all raced.
But what if like the informant was just some crazy homeless guy who happened to be in that parking lot
and happened to be right?
And Bob Woodward, the reporter, comes up and is like, so what do you have to tell me about Nixon?
Yeah, Nixon's burning the hotels down.
He's a spy.
He's listening to all of us. Okay.
Anyway.
This is a story of Chip Chan, or otherwise known as Vera Chip Chan. I saw
Chip Chan?
This is a hard story to follow because it starts on 4chan's X board, which is for paranormal, creepy stuff like that. Mostly just guys just trying to scare each other, right?
So this came from the 4chan.
This came from the 4chan in that they were on a thread monitoring unprotected random video feeds.
Oh yeah, I've heard of those. There's whole threads.
Yeah, I totally.
No, I mean there's whole threads dedicated to people that are just like, hey, you just want to peek into someone's life,
right? And they're just kind of stumbling across random ones.
There'll just be hundreds of unprotected video feeds where you can just click to like a baby monitor, or it's the Panda Cam and the Berlin Zoo.
Yeah, which is fascinating.
It's a fascinating slice of life, do this voyeuristic look at someone's like everyday life.
Right. So they were just kind of scanning across random threads.
Yeah.
Found a picture or found a shot inside this girl's apartment in South Korea.
Oh.
And after several hours, people are insisting like she hasn't moved at all. She's sleeping very uncomfortably in a weird way. She hasn't moved at all. I think she's dead. So it just kind of created that was all you needed to jump on board and start following this girl.
Okay,
right?
so that got
seed.
the momentum.
That's the seed of it. Eventually, she gets up and scratches her knee, and everyone's like, "Aw." But then she starts acting very strange. She must obviously these people have webcams. They know they have webcams in their house. It's not like stealth webcams. She starts hiding behind signs and moving to her computer and start interacting like, oh, she's back, but all of her signs are in Korean. And she also starts interacting with the people in the stream, so she must have had an access to like a chat room kind of thing. People started trying to translate these signs that were written in Korean.
And so it's like an alternative reality game.
It sounds so much like an alternative reality game. It just one of the signs needs to be translated as Halo 5 coming out like so and so. Right? It's hard for people to translate because the images are very blurred. It's a low res webcam, and there's just these giant signs all around the house. Let me mention right now, you can still find this feed. This feed's been going on for years and years. 13 years, I believe. The signs around her apartment said phrases that were best guess translated to, you can't make the person unconscious, only 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. Or other signs translated to, don't get tricked, don't get fooled.
Oh, man.
Early every morning, if someone comes that paralyzes the person, I can't be stopped.
Oh.
So some people thought they were warning signs. People were watching.
That's creepy, man.
I'll kind of cut it down. Yeah,
so was she crazy, or was she a hostage?
It sure appears to be crazy, because here's the part you haven't gotten. She seems to be a near total shut-in. She has said to her fans, or people watching her, that in 1999, a group of officers captured her and put a CPU chip or a Vera chip in her ankle, which triggers strange acts. Basically, a policeman put a chip in her ankle and can control when she sleeps. She refers to the policeman as P, and how she is under like kind of the rule of P, right?
Wow, so she's crazy.
She's crazy. Her doors are completely blocked by like bottles of water and like not even garbage, just like hordes of food, boxes. The video of her leaving her house shows her. By the way, she has like weird red strings all over the house.
Wow.
She's essentially moving 100 to 150 pounds of boxes and bottles and food out of her door frame to get past it. Like she's kind of like living like a rat in this weird maze of things.
But I mean, is there any evidence that maybe she was telling the truth?
The best evidence against that I've seen, she constantly talks about how policemen are always like monitored, or P. This guy named P, the letter P, is monitoring her and controlling her when she sleeps, and she's kind of a victim to it. Someone believes to have found, based on her like IP and camera, where she is in South Korea, and posted, oh guys, she's right next to a police station.
Oh my god.
So she might be like looking out her window and seeing police people and be like, those are the people.
And then she looks out the window, and then through the window is P saying, no one will believe you. Oh, that's so creepy.
Her house, she sits just kind of stationary looking into a laptop.
It's just like her on the floor surrounded by like these dozens of pages written in Korean. Let's watch Chip Chan right now. Okay, so there's just like a pile of bottles.
One of her shots is, I think that's Go-Gurt. One of the shots is just what appears to be a door
loves
and
Go-Gurt.
A pyramid of Go-Gurt and water bottles. The other camera seems to be disabled currently right now, but it's just a shut-in person's house.
Wow.
It's weird. It's not at all crazy that the internet would just latch onto a random person and try to.
But still, I was like, this is. I don't know, get it. And then I saw those images, and it seemed like something out of an alternative reality game.
I mean, just imagine anyone in those hoarder shows.
Yeah.
Suddenly having an audience who's not trying to watch them because a show was built around their life being dangerous.
Wow.
Where they like, whatever you have to say to us, we want to know.
Just bear with me. What if like someone's watching this feed and like all the 4chaners have like given up on her, and one person's watching her feed, and then you just see like a police officer come in when she's sleeping,
and just like he pushes a remote and she starts just moving like a puppet.
Yeah, or like he checks like her ankle where she says the chip is, and then like puts a new one in and leaves. That would be fucking terrifying.
Yeah, and she just activates, or like he pushes a button and out of her ankle crawls a tiny demon.
And then he just turns to the camera and then shuts it off, and it goes back to a feed of her sitting on the floor, like obviously doctored,
bleeding out. Yeah.
Oh god. Okay,
it's mostly just, this is one where you should just check it out. Look up her feeds.
It's visually very creepy to watch.
Visually very creepy. It's mostly because each of these all look like they're just the scene of a dead person, like a murder scene.
Yeah.
Like, oh, those girls hidden here.
Right, well, thank you, Matt M.
Yeah, thank you, Matt M. That
was the last of his suggestions, and that they were all very fascinating. I have one more fan suggestion. This one is a little bit interactive, which we've gotten from a few people, but one in particular was Tin Todd, a.k.a. @JunkFed. He tweeted at us, "Great show. Would love to hear you cover numbers stations."
I thought you were going to say, love to hear about numbers.
Tell us about numbers.
Tell me about numbers.
Not that kind of podcast. No, number stations are actually fascinating. Do you know anything about number stations, Chad?
I'm going to guess it's something from Lost.
Actually,
it's
Lost...
It's similar to the number station of like putting in codes, because I would not...
Lost does reference them, but very poorly. Like, it's not a good...
Are we talking about the station where the numbers run? They have to push a button?
Yes.
Yeah.
A number station... These are real things, by the way.
Okay, no, I believe.
Just imagine you're like on your shortwave radio, right? Mm-hmm. And then...
Of course, like I do every night.
Yeah, you're doing your ham radio, and then all of a sudden you tune into a frequency that normally is just all static, and then suddenly you just hear this weird repeating phrase over and over again.
8, 2, 1, 8.
Because that's exactly what they are. They're mysterious shortwave radio station broadcasts. They're often by artificially generated voices reciting streams of numbers, words, letters, tunes, or Morse code. And they're transmitted in shortwave areas around the globe. And no one knows for sure what the hell they're for. But there are some that have continually broadcast for almost 90 years.
Okay, I already have so many questions.
Okay.
Can I go?
Sure.
We know these are signals. You can pick up these signals.
Yes.
Just sequences
AM
of numbers.
radio signals.
Have we found these towers or transmitters at all?
No.
I thought we had the technology at this point to pretty much like locate where radio signals were coming from based on the strength, and like you could just kind of GPS locate where they're from.
We do, but it's in the hands of the military. And the military disavows all knowledge of number stations.
Wait.
Some amateurs have tried to triangulate, but I'll get into that a little bit later.
Sorry, okay. That was just my first thing. Like,
Sure.
these are things, like, we should find them.
So, basically,
Come on, people.
To give you a little more background, in the 1960s, Time magazine reported that the number stations first appeared shortly after World War II and were imitating a format that had been used to send weather data during the war. But, however, some number stations have been reported since World War I. If accurate, that would count number stations as among the earliest radio broadcasts that have continued to go since then. It's widely assumed that these broadcasts transmit covert messages to spies, although it's never been officially acknowledged by any government that may operate a number station.
How we consider that sometimes they're just a guy yelling really loudly.
It would be like if a guy yelled really loudly into a tape recorder and then set that tape recorder on loop for 90 years. So generally, number stations follow a basic format. Transmissions usually begin every hour or half hour on the hour.
So they're not continuous.
They reset, and then they broadcast.
Okay.
Then there's the prelude or introduction, which is the call-up of the transmission, from which each station gets an informal nickname. So each one is different, right?
Right, they're all sending different signals.
Right. So this can take the form of a numeric or radio alphabet code name, like Charlie, India, Oscar, or 250-250, or 690-54. Or sometimes there's characteristic phrases like attention, or octong, or ready, or...
And that'll be the start of the phrase.
Yeah, or sometimes they'll just be creepy samples of audio that they start it with. Let me play for you a few examples of actual number stations that people have just like tuning on their radio and have recorded.
Okay.
The most famous of them is one called the Lincolnshire Poacher.
Sounds friendly. Love the Lincolnshire
And this
Poacher.
is found, they can't quite pinpoint it, but they think it actually is being broadcast from Cyprus. But take a listen to, this is the Lincolnshire Poacher.
Oh, God. It's like an ice cream truck. This is terrifying.
588.
397.
What a lovely voice.
5 3
So that's the Lincolnshire Poacher.
Okay, so instantly these are already spy codes. These are instantly already spy codes.
Yeah. So that's like an old British folk song called the Lincolnshire Poacher, and that's why they call that one that.
Doesn't it? I mean, I'm just trying to think of like the spy. Obviously, old, like reading old World War II era and around that time, even World War I, like spy tactics, crazy, just nuts. The things that they were getting away with limited technology and just kind of tricking each other with like balloons and radio signals and letters inside of boxes and whatever they wanted. I'm just trying to rationalize for a second. If you're trying to send out a signal that your spy can get, but I guess if it's a short range signal, you don't have to worry about that many people intercepting it, right? The spy just needs to know where to go.
Yeah, the idea is that a spy, and this is just postulated by fans, the idea is that a spy would have what's called like a one-time code. It's called a one-time pad, which is a specific encryption key that can only be used once in correspondence with one of these number stations. And so depending on, he can decrypt certain messages and then throw it away, and it's never ignored.
Well, right, no, the whole idea is that if you have like a codex, right, all you need is just a new password, like 02588, and you can go and like match up to your codex, and now suddenly you have a new word or a new way to unlock phrases or
so that's the leading theory. But before we get too much into that, let me just play for you a few other of these, because some of them are fucking crazy.
Okay.
The Lincolnshire Poacher, people believe that the British intelligence service MI6 uses that one. Yankee Hotel Foxtrot is another famous one.
Yankee Hotel Foxtrot. Yankee Hotel
Stop it. You're making it.
Foxtrot.
Stop it. Does this just repeat forever?
No, and then it goes into a string of codes.
Yankee Zulu Lima November Zulu.
So it's interesting. So the pattern's staying the same, and then it's changing.
But now it's saying like Oscar, Tango.
This is creeping me real out, dude. This is just. I know in my heart that it's some sort of like spy code, right? That's the only reason you ever use that. But Jesus. Okay.
But so you may recognize that title, Yankee Hotel Foxtrot, because a popular Wilco album.
Yeah.
Which was in like the top 500 albums of all time, according to Rolling Stone, was named after that, and even samples it, because the lead singer of Wilco became obsessed with number stations, just like me. This next one is one of my favorites. It's called Yosemite Sam.
Please tell me this.
So,
I think it is.
Just play it.
Is it Rascal Flask and Varmints? What? What?
So that repeats that. Marmots, I'm gonna blow you to smithereens.
That's a bomb warning.
Yeah,
that's a bomb warning.
But that's been on repeat for like 40 years in the middle of the southwestern United States. The best they've been able to pinpoint it is Albuquerque, New Mexico, and people have made a big deal about that because Yosemite Sam's longtime nemesis, Bugs Bunny, says, I must have taken a wrong turn on Albuquerque.
I know, that seems like, all right, I get that that's like smart, but that means the spies have a meeting at some point where they're like, okay, so we're going to give you obscure quotes from Looney Tunes. You need to then figure out, like, based on the clues we're giving you, whatever town that they are in, what other character from that franchise has a relation to that city, and get there. But then also beat Albuquerque. So
I guess if you're in Albuquerque,
I think it's a bomb. It's a bomb warning.
It could be a bomb warning. Some people have speculated it could be drug cartels, too, which would tie in the whole Breaking Bad thing.
Oh, sorry.
Like drug cartels are using it to communicate drug drops.
Like a drug. Oh my god!
I'm gonna blow you to smithereens.
Wouldn't that be great though? Like if a drug lord could send out details by different Looney Tunes phrase, and his men listen to it and like, oh, that shipment we're sending out, we're killing those guys. If you listen to him,
if he hears succotash.
Yeah. If it's like, let me at him. It's like you're supposed to intimidate him a little bit. If it's if it's Atlantia, like you have to run, like get the fuck out of there.
Get out of there.
This is an amazing system. I want to be a drug lord just to be the Looney Tunes guy, and they call you. Oh my god, they call you Elmer Fudd. They call you Fudd. No, they call you Fudd.
Fudd.
Fudd fucks with no man.
So the last one I have is called the Atención Station, which will become relevant in a second. I'll show you, but just go ahead and play this one. This is kind of cool because it's a video of someone's AM radio as they recorded it.
Atención.
So it's just a string of numbers in Spanish, and then it goes Atención, and then starts saying Spanish numbers again. That last one, the Atención broadcast, was really interesting because it was one of the few instances where our government came forward, but it was the U.S. government coming forward and saying, we think the Atención one is the Cubans trying to send Cuban spies messages in American soil.
So the government acknowledges that number stations are potentially dangerous.
Yes, but this is one
that we don't have,
the US
which means that the other ones were theirs.
Well, all the governments are apparently using them. So they created a case against Cuban spies in America because you can hear that one near Cuba in like the Key West area. And they actually translated. They were able to crack the code.
How? How? You always think a cipher.
U.S. government, man. They figured it out.
They figured it out,
So
okay.
they were able to crack the code on 3 messages that were sent via that Attention
What?
number station.
What?
And they
What did
used
they
this
say?
in evidence to prosecute Cubans.
What did they say?
Okay, so this is number 1. It was 68 characters long, and it said, quote, prioritize and continue to strengthen friendship with Joe and Dennis.
Wow.
So that was 1.
Wow. That's scary.
2. Under no circumstances should agents German nor Castor fly with BTTR or another organization on days 24, 25, 26, and 27.
What? Say not to fly?
So BTTR is the anti-Castro airborne group called Brothers to the Rescue,
That means they were going to get taken out or something.
assumingly. And then the third one, congratulate all the female comrades for International Day of the Woman. And this was sent on March 8th, which was International Women's Day.
What? What? What?
Isn't that crazy?
How did we? I just want to know how they figured it out. I mean,
It's
obviously,
the
they don't know.
government. The government has
but,
like teams.
They just threw words against the wall for the
They have
cipher to
teams
just try to
that-
figure it out. What it was
I think they have a data bank of like psychics, like in Minority Report.
or Command and Conquer.
Yes, that they just put these brains in vats and are able to use those
shit.
like Enigma machine.
I think honestly, that's pretty freaky. The most important thing is it's kind of like when a government acknowledges one of them, like why aren't you guys acknowledging the other ones? That means it's not like they don't know
Yeah.
about those other ones.
Well, I don't think the government meant to acknowledge it. It was just this was in like this huge case where they were
Sure.
indicting Cuban
And it had to
spies,
come out.
and in one little footnote, they were like, "Holy fuck! Did you just acknowledge that number stations were real?" And they were like, "The Cubans are doing it."
I can't. I gotta imagine this is something that we could mobilize as people. Like, imagine the fucking rush of using triangulation to figure out where the hell these things are.
Yeah.
Because they can't be underground, right? Like, you can't send a signal like buried
No.
deep. The radio towers all have to be somewhat visible.
Well, what they are is, as far as everyone can tell, they're broadcast from really tiny, really strong shortwave AM broadcasters, which are like basically boxes no bigger than like a computer. And they're very simple technology. And since they're one way, it's very useful to spies, even modern, like today. It's much easier to track like IP addresses and stuff.
Sure.
And like, okay, this guy has like crazy spy gear on him. But if someone's just carrying like an AM radio headset, that they can't arrest a spy because he has earbuds in his ear.
So you're saying the government still sends out a message from a very specific location. The spy knows to come by there, gets his code.
Because basically analog's better than digital.
No, I get that.
Yeah.
I mean, hey, Battlestar Galactica, they beat the Cylons because the Battlestar had the old systems.
Exactly.
And the virus couldn't already
It's
start.
about beating Battlestar Galactica Cylons.
Wow, but like I was trying to say, why don't we? Let's fucking find these things, man. Let's find them.
I don't think anyone's ever found one. They just think that they know it's like from Albuquerque.
That's
like,
terrifying though, to not be able to find those radio transmitters.
Yeah. So there's been a few references in mass media, like Lost, like you mentioned. Also, Fringe has an episode about them, obviously, as does the series Scandal, for you Scandal fans out there.
Wait, there's a plot in Scandal.
Apparently.
Well, now I'm watching Scandal.
And The Americans, the band, as I mentioned before, Wilco has its album Yankee Hotel Foxtrot. They actually were sued by the person who recorded that particular number station because he sampled it without their permission.
Oh my god!
And there's a huge legal battle, like who owns number stations if they're just these anonymous
I
transmissions.
mean, couldn't they have gone and gotten that same number station's recording, or is it no longer able to be gotten?
I think it's hard to get them unless you live in the area, and I think the Wilco guy was just lazy. If you guys are interested in, by the way, in hearing all these and more, there's hundreds of them. I highly recommend you check out the Conet Project. That's CONET. It's a 5 CD compilation of all known number stations from around the world. And there's hundreds of them. There's even one that's like that samples a song called "Magnetic Fields," which is a UK synth pop group. But yeah, it's crazy.
Wow. Let's make our own number station. Dude.
I'd love to.
Wait, how do
the
we do that?
FCC would be like getting on our ass, I think.
Well, if they don't know where it is.
There was one point in 1998 when an investigator from the Daily Telegraph spoke to a spokesperson from the Department of Trade and Industry, which is sort of like the UK's FCC, and it's someone whose specific job was to deal with regulating radio broadcasts in the United Kingdom. And this person's like, hey, what's the deal with these number stations? And then the person, I guess, spoke out of turn instead of like disavowing them.
And said, "You shut the fuck up."
She just was like, these number stations are what you suppose they are. People shouldn't be mystified with them. They are not for, shall we say, public consumption.
No, she did not.
That's what I quote.
And then we never saw her
They
ever
are
again.
not for public consumption.
So don't eat them. All right,
Yeah.
I already figured out what our number station is.
What's that?
I really want to make this. If you put it in LA, I think maybe people's gonna freak out. Just put it in LA and like just let it cover like Hollywood and Vine. Just,
Oh
like,
my god, it's like geocaching, but old
it's like
school.
geocaching, like old school and you just hope and you just wait. All you do is you just sit back and you just wait for like 5 years.
Okay.
I'm gonna close your eyes. This is what it's going to be. Okay, close your eyes. Your eyes closed.
All right, my eyes are closed for you listening at home to this.
Somebody once told me the world is gonna roll me.
People just think that this is just the worst radio station ever.
No, it just and it goes Victor, Echo, November. Somebody once told me that it just loops over and
But what's
over.
funny is, like, there's going to be some person who's like a huge Smash Mouth fan that will think they just found the best radio station ever and will have their radio permanently tuned to that and just listen to it on loop.
I am legitimately serious. Paranoia shoppers. Paranoia shoppers.
Paranoia Shop.
Can we
AM
please
shortwave
look
radio
into doing this?
broadcast.
I will put it in our apartment and send it out. I'll find like a building that we can plug it onto the top of and plug into like an power antenna. That would be fucking amazing.
That would be amazing.
You change it like every month.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I'm getting an erection just thinking about this.
So those are number stations. I think they're awesome, but I would say let's definitely do the Smash Mouth.
I'm legitimately into that idea.
Smash Mouth.
Every couple
Tango,
months, we get one of
Bravo.
our female friends to record. Just like make it Russian
Maybe
too.
we can go on Reddit and find like a cryptographer and find someone who would be willing to like
Oh my god, we
encrypt
can actually
just
make real.
messages.
We're gonna fucking start putting number messages into our podcast.
Oh my god.
We actually get a cryptographer and start putting them into our podcast.
Let's do it right now
do it
because
right
that
now.
was the last thing that I had.
Let's do it right now.
Well, guys, that's the end of this fan-ruled episode.
Yeah.
If you guys didn't like the episode, your fault.
That's fine.
You guys ruled the roost on this
You
one.
should have sent better fan mail or kept the other fan mail from getting.
It's your fault for not sending more, which we encourage you to do. This is just Volume 1, and we're going to start peppering them throughout the episode. Any tweets you send us, any suggestions, we're going to call you out on the air.
And, let me just say, if you're looking to interact more with us besides our normal social medias, again, on Twitter, at Paranoia Shop, personally on me, I'm at Quantum Theory, and Aaron is at Good Aaron, and our email is paranoiashop@gmail.com. If you really want to help the show, go on iTunes. I know that sounds crazy. Go on iTunes and rate the Explosive Magico feed, the Paranoia Shop feed. Give it a rating. I know that sounds so stupid and so dumb. It
Yeah,
helps
give us
out-
5 stars. Give us a nice little
It helps out a
review.
ton. It really actually does. I've seen podcasts like featured on the front of iTunes with like 6 ratings.
I want to be on AV Club's podcast.
Oh god, I want to be on Podmas.
But anyway,
Sorry,
guys, thanks for listening. We love this. We do this for you, so we love hearing from you. Send in your suggestions, your tweets, your hate mail, your fan mail, your love mail, your pictures, your extra spooky stories you want us to feature. And on that, we're going to leave you with a few more maybe secret messages from yours truly in the royal we. Enjoy. Echo, Tango, Alpha, Bravo, Dumbo.
Wicker. Okay.
Hang up and try again.